Hey knitters, welcome to episode 188 of the Knitty McPurley podcast. I am your host, Devin Ventry. You can find me at knittymcpurley.com. I am Knitty McPurley on Instagram, and if you want to email me, I am Devin at knittymcpurley.com. Hello, happy Saturday, happy end of July. This is my favorite part of the summer because the first part of the summer is like swim team, which is 1,000,000 things, dance camps, and I just drove all for 2 months. I spent 2 months driving people around and knitting by the pool. And while knitting by the pool sounds great, I have a lot of responsibilities. And so sometimes I just want to get things done and I don't want to sit by the pool and knit. So I don't mean to complain. It was a great summer. But August is my favorite part of the summer because it's the relaxed part where we get to do some fun family stuff and we can get a lot of things cleaned up around the house and just stuff done and ready for the school year. So that's me. I hope your August is looking good. I feel like July went by really quick. Can't believe it's almost August. We're going to pretend that it's August and we're going to talk about the color of the month for August. So let's get right into progress and shop news. Oh, I forgot to bring my color cards up here, but I'll go ahead and put some pictures in while I'm talking. I have new color cards. You guys have been asking me for color cards for years, and they are finally here. These are handmade by Gigi. She made all of these. She punched all the holes and tied all the yarn, and she did such a good job. They came out so beautiful. I had some people ask me, like, are these gonna sell out? You know, I don't want to just order one and, pay the shipping just for a color card. Can I order it later? Yes, you can order it anytime. I plan to have these available as much as possible. I'd like to meet demand as much as I can. So feel free to, just order that with your next order if that's the most convenient for you. It's a nice resource to have when you want to knit something and you're not sure what color that you want to use. Years ago, I bought the Brooklyn Tweed color card, and I have found that to be so helpful over the years because you can really see the yarn itself. It's not like a painted circle or something where you're like, well, it's sort of this color. You can see the actual yarn itself and what its actual color is. So it's very, very nice to have. You can also hold two colors together so you can see what they look like together, and that's really nice. And that brings me to August, color of the month. I just got really excited about this month. It made me think about the Barbenheimer yarn that I did last August. The Barbie movie and Oppenheimer came out like the same weekend, was it? Or 2 weeks apart. It was this big thing, Barbenheimer, remember? And so I dyed a very vibrant Barbie-inspired poolside yarn. And this year, I don't know, I remembered that and I thought that feels like it was 5 minutes ago and it was last August. So when I dyed this yarn, it's also inspired by the beach and towels and bathing suits and beach house decor, the kind of faded, washed out colors of the end of summer. And so this is what I landed on for August. Here it is on Frankfurt Fingering. And the sock set has this really pretty aqua color that is, also shows up in the skein. And here it is on DK. So this is August's color of the month. I absolutely love it. Gigi and Alexis, both of my teenage daughters, saw this and said that, and Charlotte too, but I don't give Charlotte yarn because she doesn't really do anything with it. But my older two will knit and crochet with it. So I gave a sock set to Gigi to make socks, which we're going to show you in a minute. And I gave a skein of DK to Alexis, and she is planning to do some crochet with it, I think. I think she's making coasters. She might even have some done, and I don't know about it. So just because this is stream of consciousness, before I show you Gigi's socks, can we talk about my sweater? I know you've seen this before, but hello, it's fabulous. Some of you are knitting this now. This is the Summer Vibe Top by Trina Bertelsen. And it is so, so cute and so comfortable for the weather because it is in Fiji fingering, half cotton, half wool, the best summer yarn in my humble opinion, as we've said many times. Okay, because last time I was wearing a faux set and I totally forgot to even talk about it. So I wrote it like in the subject, what's that called? The description box down below. But anyway, Gigi and I both fell in love with the sock set and we had to knit socks. And so we did. So here is sock knitting with Gigi. All right, welcome to Knitting with Gigi.
Yay!
You're like,
what? Okay. I have made my first sock, and I did it with the August yarn, which is the prettiest color she's ever gotten, which I don't know if I called you stupid for not getting it before, but I haven't yet.
Sarcasm is big in our house.
Oh yeah, if you're not big on that, you're not actually stupid, you're just wrong. So this is what it looks like.
That's what it looks like.
It looks like a beaver who's recently gotten braces chewed the end of it, but that's okay.
Because of your inept Kitchener-ing?
Oh my gosh, you picked the most confusing stitch. I watched the video. It was like 10 minutes long to show the first part of it.
Oh, why'd you do that?
It's like you purl, and then you knit, and then you knit, and then you purl.
You've got to do the idiot version. I always do the idiot version, where you ignore the first step, and then you look at the, I'll tell you about it later. Everybody who's watching already knows about that. But,
just call me stupid in every single language.
No, just inexperience, that's all. It looks amazing.
It does.
I also knit a sock.
Yay!
With the same sock
yarn.
set, only I also added in a skein of Jovis for the cuffs and the heels and the toes, and then the alternating stripe. This is the Little Checks sock by Summer Lee.
Yeah.
And Gigi did a vanilla sock. Now, I had a question.
I've never made a sock before.
And that is so awesome. I'm going to pat you on the back from everybody. This is from everybody.
Thanks.
Your first sock is a big deal.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question before I talk about what a vanilla sock is. How do you feel about knitting the second sock now?
Well,
tell us.
I have it right here. She hasn't seen this. I knit it in surprise. It's kind of wrinkled, but I have a second one. It's not just the same sock, guys. I promise. There actually are two.
My gosh.
She hasn't seen it yet. This is her first reaction.
How did you keep that a secret?
Remember when you came in my room and I was like, no, stop. This is a secret. And you were like, is it a good secret?
Yeah, that's right.
This is the secret.
I was like, what is even happening?
You're like, okay. I actually made two. And look how good the second one looks.
It does. You can see that the colors have pooled a little bit differently.
Yeah, they striped because it was tighter.
Yeah. This one is better than this one.
It is. This is the second one.
Yeah. Well, you learned something in the first one.
Yeah, she's not faking the surprise. She actually didn't see it.
Wow. I am so impressed. Can we take pictures later of them on your feet? Here, I'll leave it on the
Yeah, sure.
Oh my gosh. You did such a good job.
She didn't know about the second sock.
Wow. Were you waiting to pull it out on camera?
I had it in my pocket.
That was so good.
Because
I was
Mom's
so
always
surprised.
like, save it for the podcast. Right. We can't talk about it at all. It must be on there.
Because we were talking about second sock syndrome. And she was like, I don't really feel like knitting the second sock. And I said,
was
that's
faking
the thing.
It all. It was all lies. There was no second sock. This was in the making as you were
talking
I was
about
like,
second
man,
sock
I
syndrome.
don't want to make the second one. Ooh. Here it is.
Well, I legit only have one sock.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, and I have one too.
That would have been so good.
That would have been really good.
I didn't do that though, but I'm gonna. So we have a Ventry Family Week of Fun next week.
Yep.
Lots of road trips. Gonna be working on the second sock for sure. Oh, but someone asked me, what is a vanilla sock?
Oh.
A vanilla sock is just where you just plain knit. It's kind of like where you've knit a lot of socks and you're gonna rib for as long as you want, and then you're gonna knit, and then you're gonna do kind of whatever heel and toe you want. There's lots of different ones.
Yeah.
Gigi did a heel, flap, and gusset, and she did such a good job.
Oh,
is there a heel turn on this one?
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah. Okay. And then she just did, the regular standard. I forget what it's called. That's the way I always knit a toe.
Yeah.
But I did
the weirdest sock you've
I
ever
did a
seen.
different heel because this is called a peasant heel. This is the one in the pattern. It's also called a forethought heel. It's really cool where you get a piece of scrap yarn and you knit a row with the scrap yarn that you will later pop out, and you'll put the two stitches on needles, and then you'll knit the heel out from there. I'd never done it like that. I had done an afterthought heel, but never a forethought heel.
Okay, the inside of this sock is even cooler.
Yeah, now don't show where I tied the knots.
Oh,
Show the good side.
The good side, where it's all the floats.
Yeah. This was a fun sock to knit. And all of the floats are just 4 stitches long.
This would legit give me second sock syndrome, which if you don't know is when you knit one and don't want to knit the other.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gigi.
You're welcome.
Are you going to wear your socks now, or is it too hot?
I think it's too hot.
Yeah.
However, I am wearing these right now. Okay, I am not that flexible. Nope. Doesn't work like that.
Gigi is weird about socks. We could talk. That's a topic for another day.
I'm not weird about socks. I just don't like your weird old lady socks.
It's a thing.
Gen Z socks are taller socks.
It's Gen Z versus Gen X all the time. Like, this is the conversation. Like, we never really thought about being Gen X, but we think about it all the time because our children
call you old.
Call us old. Of course, we did that to our parents too. All right. Anyway. Bye.
Bye.
It's so funny because whenever Gigi says anything about knitting, I'm like, save it for the podcast. It's got to be fresh. And I could not believe she finished that sock and I didn't even know about it. I mean, she's a teenager, so she goes in her room and shuts the door a lot. You know how teenagers do that? But she was knitting a sock in there. That was awesome. All right, topic of the week. So we talked before about this sweatshirt that I got from the university where my daughter will be attending in the fall. I've washed it a couple of times. You can see this is like the most basic sweatshirt design. It's basically a front rectangle, a back rectangle, and some sleeves. There's a little bit of shaping in the sleeve, and there is a little bit, is there a shoulder drop? Yeah, there's a little bit of drop in the shoulder, and there's shaping in the neckline. So this is week 2 of recreating this sweatshirt as a knitted sweater. The main thing that I want you to take away from this is that you can do it. You absolutely can do it. You can find something in your closet and you can knit that, depending on how complex it is. Now, this is super, super simple, but you could make something that is a lot more complicated, depending on your knitting level. So let's just recap really quickly. Here is the picture that I drew of the sweater, and these are the measurements of my actual sweatshirt. So I knit a swatch and I found out my gauge, and I was able to determine how many stitches I would need across the front because there's a split hem. So I knit, let's see, and I decided to use twisted rib. Normally ribbing is, if you do just a 1x1 rib, which this is, it's just knit 1, purl 1. And when you do twisted rib, it just looks a little bit cooler. I think it just looks a little bit nicer. And the twisted rib that I chose to do is just knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1. Now you can knit through the back loop and purl through the back loop, and your stitches will just have more twist. But for ease, I just did knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1. So I did that exactly the same way for the front and the back, and I actually put them on the same needle. So I cast on, for me, it was 132 stitches across the front, and I knit back and forth in the twisted rib, and then I just pushed that to one end of my long circular needle, and on the same needle, I cast on for the back, and then I knit that for, 2 3/4 inches. And then I joined to work in the round because I have 4.25 inches of this to work in the round. Now, after that, I'm going to split for the sleeves, and I'll be working the front back and forth and the back and forth. I will do a little bit of shaping to make the armholes kind of like this. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna decrease maybe by 2 stitches on each side and come in like that and then just knit straight, and then I will increase again to get that same stitch count for the shoulder. Now I'm going to stop here and I will work some short rows to create the shoulder drop. If you don't do that, you end up with something that's a little bit boxy, and maybe that's what you want. One of the comments, I don't remember if I stuck it in the comments I'm gonna read, but she was talking about fashion. Kim, hi Kim. She was like, what is up with the fashion these days? I feel like I'm back in junior high. That is 100% true, just like Gigi with the socks. Do you remember the socks from the 80s? I was a child of the 80s, born at the end of the 70s. And I remember we do like 2 pairs of socks. So you'd have like, you know, the green scrunchy part and the orange scrunchy part. And then on your other foot, you'd switch them. So you'd have orange and green and orange. But now it's these like the white Nike socks. My children are addicted to these things. Anyway, everything old becomes new again. So all that to say that I am gonna do just a small amount of shoulder drop here. So I will just work the short rows, and I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna feel it out. If you're a math person and you like to math it out, you can do that. For me, I just tend to feel it out. I kind of eyeball it, and then if I'm happy with it, I'll recreate it for all of the other parts too. So for here, 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 and here. And I'll create a rounded neckline. And I'll talk about all of that as we get there. But this is week 2. I'm feeling like this is gonna be a 6-week series where I show you this sweater and we talk about it. And I'll go into detail about what I've done to get as far as I am, but this is where I am right now. Quite happy. I'm really almost to the sleeve divide. It's not very far. This whole part is 7 inches because the sleeves are so dropped. They just come down really low. So that's where we are with that. Now, do you think you will design your own sweater? If you feel like it and you want to leave me a comment about that, I would love to know. Like, do you feel like this conversation that we're having makes you think about your favorite top? And it could be a blouse, a shirt of any kind, a t-shirt, the one that fits you the way that you like the most. Do you feel like you will go in and try to reverse engineer this as a knitting pattern? I would love to hear about that. Not like one that you'll write up for other people to knit, but just for your own sake, making your own sweater that fits you the way you want. I would love to know. My next series after this, we are gonna knit bust darts because I actually, I bought Kate Oates, I bought her Perfect Tea handbook, and it was great. It had so much information about it. And actually after that, I bought this book called Knit to Flatter by Amy Herzog, which some of you recommended. This arrived like 10 minutes before I started filming. So I have not really had a chance to go through it, but we're gonna look through it a little bit during Knitting Fantasies. Anyway, I've been learning and doing my research on how to knit for curves because I'm going to be teaching a class on that at the Arkansas Knitting Retreat and at my retreat in January. So I really wanted to familiarize myself with bust darts. So I took my own upper bust measurement and full bust measurement, and I realized that it's actually very different. So, and you know, it's all fake. I had a total bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction. So, you know, it's half plastic. But the other parts of me do change size. And I was surprised by that my bust measurement has changed even since getting the surgery, just because of, you know, weight loss and muscle gain. So anyway, I really feel like with a more fitted sweater, bust darts would give me a better shape. So after this sweater, I'm gonna knit a Benedicta, and I wanna use one of the colors of the month, maybe September's color of the month, and make a Benedicta with bust darts. It's a colorwork sweater, and I'll be putting the darts in without colorwork because that will be simpler. And you don't need to put a ton of them, but I was just amazed how you can use short rows to change the shape. And I really think this is going to help a lot of you. So if you're interested, follow along, knit along with me, and you can knit whatever sweater you want. If you want to join in, make your own sweater, you'll be able to put bust darts in any sweater you want, I hope, after we talk about it and go through it. If you don't want to wait that long, I suggest, and I can't really recommend this book yet because like I said, I haven't read it, but it looks really good, and definitely Kate's Perfect Tea Handbook. Yeah, that's going to be great. Okay, moving on to the comments section. Joyce says, "Loose knitters unite." We need a pin with like a fist, with a fist with knitting needles that says "Loose knitters unite." That's happening. That sounds amazing. Janie Burke says, "I taught myself how to knit socks before YouTube. What I finally landed on that works best for me is 2 24-inch circular needles." That is a great suggestion. A lot of people use that. And you could even just use one if you wanted to do the magic loop. But having 2 is nice. I like 3 16-inch. It's all basically the same thing. Some of you asked me about my 3 16-inch circulars. It's the one needle has half the stitches. The other needle has the other half, and you work with the third needle. They're not necessary. It's not necessary to have 3, but it's luxury. It's great to have 3. It just feels like you have everything you need. So I got a bunch of comments about what people use for knitting socks, and it's so interesting because mainly these comments are either about how we knit socks or how our needles got confiscated. So let's talk about that. Kim Kindle says, "I love the color card. Silly me, I've just been buying a skein every time I want a color." Or that's what I tell my husband. "The tea cozies were epic. Wow, that was amazing. I don't get fashion, and some of it is taking me right back to middle school, and that's not happening again. Ha ha, all the best, Kimberly." Yes, no, so true. The Nitty Cats, that's Julie. Hi, Julie. Says, "I love your color card. International travel. Mexico will take any needles or hooks you try to leave their country with, leaving only. I have been successful leaving Mexico with mini interchangeables if I take them off the cord and hide." She wrote both hide and put. It's like she said hide, but then she's like, put the needles in with my makeup. Once on the plane, you're A-okay. You can knit as much as you want. The airlines don't care. Those Mexican airline security folks have a lot of aunties and Grammys who craft, LOL. And then the Selfish Knitter, Colleen, says, "I've also heard people say that they hide their interchangeable tips with pens and pencils in their purse, perhaps in a little pencil pouch, and manage to get them through." Now, someone else said that too, and that's in one of these comments. But that sounds risky to me. Like trying to hide it, because if it gets caught, they're going to chuck it. So I think wooden needles, if you travel internationally, wooden needles only, because there is more. Heather says, "Flying back from Mexico last week, my BFF's metal needles were taken and thrown in the trash with reckless abandon. Fortunately, my wooden ones with metal tips went through unscathed." That's interesting. Carlin says, "I learned sock knitting on DPNs, and I tried Magic Loop and 9-inch circular. I don't like Magic Loop because I don't like pulling the cord all the time." Me too. I almost never knit with Magic Loop unless I am stuck. If you don't know what Magic Loop is, Google it, because you're basically just using one long needle and constantly pulling the stitches. "I've been knitting socks the past couple of years using Addi Flexi Flips, and I love using them. You have to think of them as Magic Loop or using 16-inch needles. I also like that the Flexi Flips have 2 different points on each needle." Do they? I have those. I don't know what you mean. I'll have to go look. "I've also used them for starting muscle burrow hats or for sleeves." That's a good tip. I have the Flexi Flips and I don't love how short they are. That's why I like the 16 inchers, because they're long enough, but not too long that they're making loops and getting caught on things. So if you love them, gosh darn, use whatever you like, whatever works for you. That's what you should use. And sometimes if I'm knitting a vanilla sock, I'll use something different than if I'm knitting like a colorwork sock. It's just gonna be something different. Katie Bell, Gryffindor Chaser, says, I completely agree. DK is an awesome weight. It just makes nice fabric. I know, it is my favorite. Now, this was a super interesting comment from Katie. She says, I am a loose knitter also on metal needles, but since I started using good quality / expensive wooden needles, and she says, Indian Lake Artisan are my faves, but Addy Olive Wood are lovely also. I've had to completely readjust my expectations for my gauge, because on those needles, I tend to be right on with gauge or even tight. The needles are an absolute pleasure to knit with, so now I'm slowly building my collection of each brand every birthday and Christmas. That is crazy, because now I want to try those. I feel like I've heard of Indian Lake Artisan. I want to try those. I knit almost exclusively with metal needles. I have some wooden DPNs that I really like. I have Knitter's Pride and ChiaoGoo, I think, that are wooden, and I like them. And I do like the way that they are. They're a little bit more grippy, but not a lot more if they're smooth. But oh, I gotta try those. I think I'm gonna try those, Katie. That's awesome. Okay, this is a super helpful comment about Europe. Remember Linda's comment last week, which was so helpful about both sock knitting and talking about international knitting travel, because nobody wants their needles confiscated. Get your tissues ready. This story is sad. This is from Anne. Hi, Anne. About international airport security and metal knitting needles. Flying from Istanbul last year, the security woman confiscated my entire set of ChiaoGoo interchangeable needles. I had forgotten to pack them in my checked bag, kicking myself while crying. She let me keep the case, but I was heartbroken. Oh my gosh, I'd be like, just throw the case away. I would just be so angry at that point. Like, I don't want the stupid case. The French also took my metal needles once. I have learned the hard way to carry wood or bamboo needles. Mine are interchangeables. I unscrew my needles from my project, use the stoppers, put the needle tips in my purse with pens and pencils wrapped in a rubber band until I board the plane. So is this wooden needles, Anne, that you're doing this with, just to be safe? Because the x-ray can't tell it's not a pencil. Okay, so that makes sense. But you can't like have it in your knitting bag. They'll confiscate it if they're wooden. I feel like, based on these comments and ones that we've had before, wooden needles are okay. It's just the metal ones that they don't want. Oh yeah, she says, I saw your gauge tool on the Modern Daily Knitting website. Cool. You can get it right from the Acreworks website too, that plus shaped thing that I use to measure gauge. It's really nice. You can use a ruler. You don't need this tool. It's not a necessity, but it is cool to have. And since I have it, I do like to use it. Okay, knitting fantasies. So like I said, I got this book literally 5 seconds ago, but it has 21 sweaters in it. And basically, you follow these tank-topped women throughout the book because there are different sections based on your shape. So for bottom heavy shapes, she gives you some different ideas. But let's look through at these patterns. Discovering your body type, top heavy shapes, bottom heavy shapes, proportional shapes, and other other figure features. I don't actually love this sweater, but I love the outfit and the shoes with the skirt. The sweater is actually my least favorite part. Sorry, Amy. This book I think is out of print. So I got it used from Amazon, but it looks brand new. It does not look used at all. So let's see what we have here. Is this the top heavy part? Yeah, she gives you how to measure and determine what your body shape is. And for top heavy shapes, we have a couple of different options. Got 2 cardigans and a pullover. And I don't know if this has, directions for bust darts. That would be great. I bought the book because I hope to learn a lot. Oh, this is pretty. That's really cute. And that does too. This is a bigger busted lady and that looks just fabulous on her. Really nice. This is called the, can't read backwards, Cypress cardigan. And the Eloria turtleneck. It says the wide cable panel and turtleneck slim the shoulders and the entire torso. Waist shaping keeps the sweater from looking too boxy. Now this outfit's the opposite. I hate the outfit, but I think the sweater is cute. Interesting. So this is more like how to choose a sweater for your body type. I am hoping that it also has, a skirt, that it also has directions for things like bust darts, although it's actually very simple. Once you get the basic idea of how to do it, it's really pretty simple. Okay, this is for a bottom heavy shape, wide neckline and color work at the shoulders, broad in the upper torso. A tied waist allows for a close fit, and gradually brightening stripes draw the eye upward. That's what she says about this design. Interesting. So this pattern, this book has a lot of patterns in it. The flutter pullover. So here, the wider sleeves would kind of balance out the bottom. Andy's cardigan has a textured collar and short sleeves. It's a little bit retro. Stoker cowl. It says it's a cowl, but it's a sweater with a cowl neckline. I could see how a cowl neckline would be good to balance out a bottom heavy shape. That's what I am. I'm bottom heavy. My hip measurement is my largest measurement. Now, if you are more, straight up and down, oh, this is really cute. Plain crew neckline and plain ribbed hem balance one another. Cables on the sleeve draw the eye up to the face. This is pretty. But this woman's beautiful, and when you put someone beautiful and perfectly proportioned in something, they look great. Okay, the Holloway pullover. Interesting. It has a cool neck detail. Ooh, squared cardigan. This is a cute outfit. Coin cable cardigan. Yeah, that's cute. Other figure features. Okay, let's see what we've got. So things, if you have a larger bust, smaller bust. Okay, Dorica hoodie. Interesting. I see. So using that zipper there can maybe draw the eye to the waist more. Interesting. So I'm looking forward to getting into this book a little bit more. Delish cardigan. This is really pretty. Nice and basic, but with an all over texture. Let's see. Dances pullover. This looks a lot like Caitlin Hunter's Tanya sweater, doesn't it? Except it's got different sleeves. Real pretty, real delicate. I like that hand-dyed yarn. And Minx tank. That's cute too. What weight is that in, I wonder? I feel like all tank tops should be in fingering weight yarn. Is it? Yes, it is. Cool. I like all this hand-dyed yarn. And Chimera cardigan. A lot of cables. But I'm interested to read this and learn more about shaping, mainly shaping. This appears to be a lot of kind of tricks to fool the eye, which are good, but that's not shaping. So hopefully when I get into the book, I'll find more of the meat of that. All right, our last section of the podcast and everyone's favorite. So here's what happened. This is the part of the podcast where we share our knitting stories, our oral tradition, the funny, ridiculous, embarrassing, hilarious, crazy, unbelievable things that have happened to us while knitting. If you have a knitting story, please send it to me, devin@knittingmcpearly.com. I would love to share it on the podcast. You can take a video, you can take a voice recording, or you can type it out and I will read it for you. But this is everyone's favorite part of the podcast. And today I have a wonderful little story from a podcast watcher named Jessica. Hi, Jessica. I think I love this story so much because I can totally relate to it. I don't want to say that my worst vice is impatience, because I'm sure I have I have vices that are worse than that. It's not that bad of a vice, but I'm an extremely impatient person. I just want things done quickly, and it's hard for me to be patient. Now that said, I'm more patient with people than I am with things. If my computer doesn't work, it's like that, that image where the person has thrown it through the window, can't handle it. So I can relate to Jessica's experience of knitting in the early days of her knitting. And thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing this with us. She said, "Hi, Devin, I love your podcast. I watch it every week, but rarely comment. Recently, you have been talking about modifications to garments to customize the fit, such as darts. I also wonder about certain sweater shapes and constructions for certain body types." Jessica, go order this book. I would look on Amazon or ABE Books or eBay even, but you can get it used for a good price. What looks good on one body type doesn't necessarily look good on another. Like, does the person that finds a round colorwork yoke ill-fitting look better in a raglan construction? These are all great questions. She says, "Also, I know you're short on stories and I've gone back and forth about sharing. So here is my story." Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else who's going back and forth, send it to us. You will be glad that you did. It's great to share these things. She says, "My grandmother taught me to knit. I was young and I didn't stick with it. So years later, when I picked the needles back up to relearn with my grandmother long gone, I found myself watching YouTube tutorials. And anytime I came to some new technique or made a mistake, there I was in front of my tablet playing the tutorial over and over again until I got it." And that is the great thing about YouTube. I love that. And this is also heartening for everyone who's tried to teach a grandchild how to knit and they haven't stuck with it. Just like Jessica, they might come back to it later. She says, "I don't remember the particular problem I was up against, but based on what was said, it obviously had to do with picking up stitches. I was still a beginner and I was frustrated. I had watched the video several times where she kept saying that the stitch looks like a V and there's the left side and there's the right side and you want to pick up the right side of the V. I was fuming. I was yelling at the screen. Looking back, I probably was overreacting, but I'm not well known for my patience. For some reason, I was just not getting it. Then my calm, cool, and collected husband, who had up until this point been minding his own business, looks at me and says, "It's simple. There's the left side of the V and the right side of the V, and you want to pick up the right side." In time, I either worked out the problem, or gave up. I don't remember which. But that phrase has become our own little inside joke. Anytime that I find myself grumbling and frustrated with anything in life, hubby so helpfully reminds me how simple it is just to pick up the right side of the V. That is a great story and so relatable. We have tons of things like this in my house where there's just that one little comment that you drop when the other person is doing whatever, and it's just hilarious. It just makes everything funny. I love that. And like I said, I can relate to being impatient with things. I have infinite patience for people, but things, oh my gosh, just throw it out the window. Oh gosh, thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you back here next weekend. Bye, knitters.